Welcome to the Foxii Fighters Round Robin Week 1 pre-show. I am Foxii, and these are my three co-hosts, Mr. Redmond, Jonathan, and Black Hat. We have a very exciting day for you guys, and I must remind you that we are going to be seeing all 32 of our bots compete in at least 1 or 2 fights today. And here is our schedule for the show, with each of our 4 groups containing 5 matches. Now, there's a lot of exciting matchups today. However, I think a few that I'm very much looking forward to are Cerberus and Burnout in the Ruby group, Truncator and Serpent in Emerald, Leviathan and Abyss in the Sapphire group, and Xiaoxilong and Demon Spirit in the Topaz group. However, I think there's been one bot that from the pilot a lot of people have been talking about. Counterpoint. This charming Canadian machine has captured quite the audience so far with its lifter-spinner weaponry. Let's head over to John and Rob, our 2 bot analysts, to see if they have any more insight on this machine.
Yeah, so as I said in the pilot, I do like Counterpoint a lot, and this isn't the first competition it's fighting in. As a matter of fact, there is currently a competition going on where it is doing quite well, the Robot Combat Invitational, the tournament that I'm hosting. So it stands at the moment at 4 total points. It's had 1 knockout win, which is great. I mean, that's the highest you can get in the competition. But there is a bit of a contrast because in its only other fight, it's had a judge's decision loss. It's a real mixed bag, 1 win in dominant fashion and 1 loss. It's going to be real exciting to see what comes out of it here.
Well, 40 Ounce will be looking to add another of those dominant wins here in Foxii Fighters. They've been cooking something up in the pits for one of its upcoming fights.
Counterpoint will be fighting twice today, with the first of those being the very first match of the week against the French full-body spinner of Terabyte, and then again later against Rookie Bot Game Over.
Yes, this rookie machine Game Over is hoping to prove itself in its first match here against Counterpoint, and I have to say, it is a marvel, I have to say, for this sport, and to its really inclusivity, since the driver is only 10. I mean, I didn't expect to have such a vast age range that exists in this competition. We've got people from all walks of life competing here, and it's just a pleasure, I think, just to see a new face competing in these online sports, regardless of where you come from. It just, in a way, essence, it gives some nostalgia, I'd say, to the old dogs of this sport.
Moving on from a young face in the community to 2 experienced veterans, we've got Sephi and his robot Silly Goose against Rose's Neola. 2 great bots. I think not much hope is in the hands of Silly Goose, but there's a real chance for it to pull out something. Of course, Sephi's had experience in real life robot combat. He's been in Norwalk, Robot Havoc. He's a BattleBots hopeful. There's plenty of experience on his side, but Neola definitely looks to be one to look out for.
Neola is a very interesting bot, yes. The cluster bot isn't something done often, and is even less frequently done well. So I do think it's understandable that a few people have their doubts about it. However, I believe that Rose is a builder that knows what she's doing. She's got a lot of options here with her 5 different configs, and I'm interested in seeing which 2 she brings out today to fight Silly Goose.
I, for one, have incredibly high hopes for Neola, especially when they competed in my damage tournament Killbots. Neola, despite being a cluster bot, pretty much defied all odds and expectations and defeated so many machines, getting up to the almost pretty much to the semi-finals of the sport, only losing to Terabyte, actually, who happens to also be in this competition. But Neola has fought against many competitors and many veterans in this sport with different, all of them having different machines, of course, but I'm excited to see how they perform in this competition, and I think they'll go even further than they did in Killbots.
Well, we've got plenty to look forward to there from the Ruby group, but now onto the Emerald group, and I'd like to draw your attention to one of the robots in Emerald group, Soundwave. Quite a bit of experience here in the RRC with Jazz. Great looking robot with plenty of potential, not only that overhead bar, but the Shreemec on top, in case it gets into any difficulty.
Soundwave is a gorgeous bot, and that spinner is not to be underestimated. Since its appearance in the Invitational, it switched out its mechanism wheels for more traditional locomotion. Hopefully the switch will allow Soundwave to be more effective with those front forks, and will allow it to keep the pressure on even if that mighty weapon goes down. This group also has a lot of fairly interesting designs. Truncator's rotary lifter seems like it's got the potential to really throw some bots over and away from it. Mundo, a bot that Truncator is also fighting today, is another bot I'm looking forward to seeing. It'll have to prove durable enough to fight the large spinner of Akira in our second match of the Emerald Group. I think while Mundo may be vulnerable to horizontal spinners, the dual weaponry may give it the versatility just to have the element of surprise against some opponents.
Yes, and I for one am excited to see Mundo perform, since it not only performed in Killbots and did reasonably well. I'm also excited to see Orc back in the sport. Ever since sort of the older days, he's been around as an integral part of the sport, being a strong voice for many different changes, and contributed a lot to the group, really, in terms of making his own competitions, to making some of the most uniquely designed robots that exist. And Mundo, I think, is just another addition that to his fine roster of very colourful and personality-filled robots.
From one veteran to another, we have Tex with his robot Tough as Nails, and Tex has built such a massive lineage and catalogue of robots over the years. Some original, a lot replicas. There's just about anything you can choose from. And I think Tough as Nails is really a robot where his abilities have peaked. It is so powerful. It's just able to control its opponents with ease, and I really think that it has a chance here of certainly advancing past its group.
And with a lot of excitement in the Emerald Group with veterans, there is also one in the Sapphire Group that I believe a few people have been talking about. Hopin and Leviathan, our only shuffler in the field, and much like Soundwave, armed with a giant asymmetrical bar spinner. I know in past events, Killbots being one of them, Leviathan has had trouble self-righting, but I'm under the impression that that has been fixed now, and that it should allow it to be a lot more competitive in the arena.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, the shuffler. I mean, I'm old school. I'll always favour wheels, but generally people, they like the idea of a walker or a shuffler because it gets you that weight allowance increase. It allows you to be heavier and a little bit more potent in the arena, but you do potentially lose a fair bit of mobility, as sometimes shufflers, and well, walkers more so, but sometimes shufflers can be a little bit slower as well. But when you've got an all-round protective weapon like that overhead bar spinner, you're protected from all angles, so it doesn't matter so much how quickly you get around the arena, it's more so how quickly you get away from your opponent.
As far as unique bots go, the Sapphire Group seems to have a good number of them. One of these being Stardust, a hydraulically powered flipper that in warm-up fights that we hosted has proven to be incredibly powerful. However, the disadvantage to this flipper is that it seems to need a very long time to recharge that flipping power, preventing it from getting the consistent string of flips that more conventionally powered flippers use. We will get to see Stardust in our final match of the Sapphire Group against the equally unique punching spinner of Jokester.
Jokester certainly is one of the more unique variations of the vertical spinner. It calls itself a punching spinner, which actually does help out quite a bit for it. We've seen in previous fights around the RRC where vertical spinners can have a disadvantage where they're being hit too early for them to spin up and really gain that full power. What Jokester has with the punching mechanism is a real advantage in that case, because it doesn't have its spinner constantly facing outwards and able to attack the other robot. It gives itself a lot of time to fully spin up, and it can transfer that energy straight to its opponent and do far more damage than what a traditional vertical spinner might be able to do.
This fight will be a battle between two unique takes on commonly seen designs. I am looking forward to seeing the innovation in the arena. However, innovation is not the only thing that the Sapphire Group has. It also contains Howler, an absolutely beautifully designed crusher.
Yeah, I mean, as I've already mentioned, I'm old school. I hail from a time before we even had unions, and suddenly we're using AI to aid the design of our robots. The wolf skull head for this crusher actually uses AI generative design in order to produce that shape, which just baffles me that this is the stage that we've reached. It does make me wonder what lies in the future of the RRC, considering how far we've come to something like Howler.
The Sapphire Group seems to be full of both unique and beautiful designs. I personally think This is the closest between all the groups as well. I think that most of the bots within this group are at a similar level, and there's no real top or bottom within it. I look forward to seeing how the fights within this week go. Now, our final group, the Topaz group, seems to have quite a few very big names within it. First there's myself and Red, with Super Esports and Lemon respectively, and we're coincidentally the first fight of the group this week. We've both got some pretty fearsome bots, with some of the most damaging weapons in the entire event.
Lemon, it's been a while since I've had to really think about the history that goes behind Lemon, and I didn't think it would become my most popular, if not the most regular machine that I would utilize, but there we are. I guess I like Lemons and full-body spinners. I mean, it's one of the oldest machines in the RRC, and I think it is the oldest that's actually competing still so far. And seeing it here today and in its, I suppose, more modernized glory, it feels with the essence of pride. And it's never won the highest it's got at second place, and it actually got second place in Foxy's previous event, was untelevised, which is This Is Fighting Robots against Xiaoxi Long. So there's definitely a history there between my old machine and Xiaoxi Long, but I think this year I'm hoping to not only get my own back, but also take home the glory and hopefully retire this machine on a high.
Xiaoxi Long is probably one of the biggest names in this event. After a lot of very impressive wins throughout my last event, TIFR, it placed first and is currently the bot that everyone is looking to beat. It has a brutal sharp-tooth spinner, and this time around has 3 different front setups to help it keep getting the victories that we know it's gotten in the past.
The mind behind Xiaoxi Long, Prime, has a bit of a nemesis in this group in the form of Double with Demon Spirit. Now, both of them have a steeped history in the RRC, and throughout events all across the last few years, they always seem to come up against each other, always seem to be battling each other, and always seem to getting at each other's necks, in a friendly, banterous way, of course. But I'm sure we're going to see a little bit more of that in this group when they end up facing each other.
Demon Spirit has tended to stay the same for the past few tournaments, but it actually comes into Foxii Fighters with a brand new config. Not going to be much help when it comes up against Xiao. It does have an anti-horizontal spinner wedge config that just makes the wedge bigger, and also moves that 4-bar flipper only to the top, which could be interesting to see if it can get a robot up on there.
We got a moment earlier to bring Double in for a brief interview to ask him some questions about the upgrades for Demon Spirit going into this event. So let's hear how that unfolded. And welcome to the show. It's the builder of Demon Spirit, Double Reese. Now, the first thing I want to ask you about is your upgrades to Demon Spirit. It seems you've changed your flipper mechanism and have a second wedge setup. Can you shed some light on those choices?
With Demon Spirit, I've always felt like it struggled. It's like that killer instinct. It's always usually been a control bot of some kind, whether it be rammer, lifter, flipper. I've always lacked that final blow. This is hopefully the magnum opus of the Demon Spirit brand, and possibly I might be able to make a good run in this tournament.
It's a very interesting insight there. Have you had to adapt your driving style at all with the new changes?
A bit. I've had to adapt it with the 4-bar in general. I've had to be a lot more patient and a lot more methodical with how I drive it. Especially with the other config I have with the anti-horizontal, I've had to really change the driving style, but the upgrades with the anti-horizontal plow coming in should mean I can be more aggressive when fighting any horizontal spinner, instead of me having to basically run away and try and get to the back.
Alright, and looking at your first match, it's going to be a very good one against a pretty long-term rival of yours in Primeval with his very terrifying vertical spinner, Xiaoxi Long. I know the two of you have had many fights in the past. What are you intending to do differently this time to try and get a victory?
Well, he's a very good opponent, I'd say. He has a very unique build style. His recent robot he's made, Xiaoxi Long, has become one of his flagship designs. Most tournaments he's entered, he usually brings it. Most opponents usually don't come out alive. However, I'm planning to use this robot's durability to my advantage. I'm planning to try and stop the spinner from spinning up, flip it over. Once that robot then gets flipped over, it's basically done for. Maybe try and get the KO quickly and try and flip out the arena.
Alright, I'm very much looking forward to seeing the two of you meet in the arena much later on tonight, so best of luck to you.
Thank you.
And now, while final preparations for our first fight are underway, allow me to explain a bit about how Foxii Fighters will work. As you know, each of our 32 competitors was randomly drawn into one of the 4 groups. Across the next 5 episodes, round robins will happen within these groups, and once complete, the top 6 will move into the heat bracket, where one last set of fights will happen to give us our 12 finalists, 3 from each group. I will give more information on the finals at a later stage.
So, of course, we've got plenty of robots to fight, but what do we need for them to fight in? Well, you need an arena. And we happen to have an arena with quite a few hazards to catch these robots out or to help them. The Uta zones in 2 corners of the arena. Really, each robot wants to avoid that themselves, but if they can get their opponent into them, that will be a massive help. The wall spikes that line the wall. You could get your opponents potentially stuck, impaled in the spikes. The spiked drums opposite to the starting squares of the robots, and you can get robots trapped in them, behind them. They will be a great help. The arena hammers, 150 SGS, definitely can deal damage at the speed that they come down. The ramrod bots that are on them will be raised into the air. The kill saws, massive damage to wheels or batteries. Flame jets, they can really damage your wheels and your drive. Floor flippers, sending any robot that drives over them sky high. The raised platform takes up a pretty large chunk of the arena floor space and basically acts as another Uta zone. And the final hazard that can be used in combat, a very interesting one, the driver operated smokescreen.
Right, so we've got our arena, we've got our robots, now we need something for them to do in the arena, and that's fight. And the aim of that fight is quite simple. Well, stop your opponent from moving. And you can do that in a number of ways. You can destroy them until they can't move, you can throw them out of the arena so they can't move, or you can put them in a position in the arena where they can't move. We call that immobility. Now, if a robot is deemed to be immobile and can't show controlled movement, it will be counted out. And if it's counted out, that's a knockout. Both robots are immobilized at the same time, then they'll both be counted out from that point, and the judges will be called upon to determine a winner from there. Now, you can hold your opponent in the arena for no longer than 15 seconds if you want to deal some damage to them during that period of time. And if the fight runs for the full duration, both robots will be asked to show controlled movement at that point in time. Obviously, if one of them can't, then they've been knocked out. But if both of them are still mobile at the end of the battle, then our friends the judges will be turned to decide the winner.
Yes, thank you, John. Of course, once a fight goes the full distance and both robots are entirely capable of showing that they are still mobile, it goes to our esteemed panel of judges to decide who was the winner of that fight. The judging system is defined as an 11-point system, which is defined under 3 primary categories: damage effect, controllability, and attack intent. Attack intent is worth 5 points, and damage effect and controllability are worth 3. Attack intent more or less is defined as how aggressive a robot was and how successful they were in the attack, including the number of times an attack was launched by them, how many times they were actively attacking in that match against their opponent, and how effective their weapon was when being utilized in that match, such as a flipper throwing a robot into the air or hammers impacting, so on and so forth. Secondly, we go to our damage effect, which is more or less self-explanatory, how damaging they were in that match with their weapons, or with the hazards of the arena. Damage is scaled more or less between massive damage being that damage to robot's functionality, to little damage being just scratches and bumps on the armor. Finally, of course, we have the last category being a controllability, being how controlling and oppressive you are in the arena against your opponent. This can count for being consistently controlling where the opponent is in the arena, pushing, deciding the sway and pace of the fight, utilizing the arena hazards to an effective capability, and the ability to continue once fighting if you lose your primary weapon. Once the points have been tallied between all three judges, the robot with the highest score will be declared the winner.
At the end of every fight, both competing robots will be awarded a number of points depending on how well they fought. If the fight resulted in a knockout, the winner will be awarded between 11 and 13 points depending on how quick that knockout happened, while the loser will only receive between 1 and 3 points. If a fight goes to our judges, both competitors will be awarded a number of points equal to the score of the decision, with the winner gaining 2 additional points. For example, if a fight was scored 7-4, the winner would be awarded 9 points, and the loser would be awarded 4 points. And now it looks as if both Counterpoint and Terabyte are in the arena and ready to fight. Let's head down to the arena and kick this event off with a bang.
And here we go, starting off in the Ruby group, we have Terabyte and Counterpoint, with Counterpoint hoping to get the counterplay there on Terabyte with the de-icer. And the match has started, both robots, of course, squaring each other off, trying to find a strategy. It seems like Counterpoint is aiming to go for the back, but good sure shot there from Terabyte.
Bit of a tentative start from Counterpoint, but it seems to be getting up to speed now a little bit. Trying to get that de-icer into play. Ooh, over the flame pit! Not the best move!
So far it seems that Counterpoint is trying to go more backwards and forwards, not utilising that de-icer that much, just trying to go for the sun. And there we go!
Oh, it's got it!
The first usage of the de-icer in this match, holding it in place, but not really getting much purchase there against Terabyte. Not utilising the Willis that much, only keeping him at bay.
Ooh, Counterpoint struggling to move, and it's got another grab!
What a fantastic grab there. Counterpoint showing some
Seems
fantastic
better than
control.
the first.
It's Terabyte's almost simply pushing it back though, despite it holding on to it. Oh, and thrown away to the other side of the arena there. Ooh.
Another bit of tentative. I think both bots are getting their weapons up to speed. Counterpoint tries to go in with the spinner and just gets thrown away.
Piece by piece, piece by piece. There's a wheel.
That's a wheel.
Oh, Counterpoint
is stuck. Terabyte is going in for another hit. Ooh, freezed Counterpoint.
Oh, hit on the drum there, knocking away a piece. Terabyte is going in to shred him into pieces.
The source popped up for a minute there, but had no effect on the fight.
Oh, this is a good first battle here so far, as Terabyte is just chipping away at the defences of Counterpoint. Can Counterpoint counter back and slap away Terabyte? No, not really, as he's getting pressured to get near to the wall. It is...
Oh, it's stuck on the wall, but Terabyte hits it and frees it. Counterpoint definitely looks like it's hurting as we move into the last minute of the match.
Oh, it's definitely at a disadvantage here, Foxy. I don't know if Counterpoint can really get that de-icer back into play, especially since it is down a wheel. It is lacking in control here. Oh, onto the saws.
Definite damage on those other 2 big wheels towards the back. Oh, and one of them's gone!
There's another one gone! Oh, dearie me, dearie me. It seems that with every hit from Terabyte, Terabyte is pulling ahead further in the judges' scorecards. I don't know if we'll get a knockout here, but Counterpoint is still trying its best, still mobile, still moving. Though I don't think the de-icer is going to really help itself anymore. Oh dear, getting stuck up on the shelf, getting hit away by the drum.
The flame jet's getting a couple of small attacks in. Oh, and deflecting off the drum into Terabyte. Counterpoint is just stuck between a rock and a hard place here, and nearly out of the arena!
Oh my goodness me! It is not looking very good for Counterpoint. I think Terabyte has just got it in the bag. It is just showing off at this point, playing around with this wounded animal, this prey here.
Very easily could have just left Counterpoint there to struggle, but it just wanted that damage. It knows it's won.
Oh,
what a fantastic first fight! Wow. A very good first match in the Ruby group here. Terabyte coming out strong with a first hit, but Counterpoint definitely getting that debater into play, much to I think quite a few people's surprise. However, as the match just went on, Terabyte's damage just slowly racked up. It sniped one of Counterpoint's wheels in the closing minute, and that just crippled Counterpoint so much. Terabyte, overall, I definitely think the stronger machine here. And it wins the JD on a 9-3. The fight 2 of the Ruby group. In the red square we have Avalanche, in the blue square we have Game Over. And they begin. Avalanche holding back a little bit just to get that spinner up to speed. Oh, what an impressive first hit right out the gates.
Straight out of the bat, the rookie there showing off their teeth. Let's see how Avalanche can retort there, if it can. Lining up, dancing around a little bit, probably a few control issues.
There's the wheel guard!
Oh, crashing back in, showing off their stuff. Avalanche getting that side bit. Those wheels are now exposed, less than ideal there for the rookie as both the robots clash there, slapping weapons against one another.
Game over looks to be hurting already. It doesn't seem to be fully controlled. But although, as this is one of the driver's first ever matches, that could just be an experience showing through.
Yeah, I do have to agree, though.
Oh!
I have to...
Where did Avalanche just go? It seemed to just take off.
It went somewhere.
I think that's a part of it sitting on the arena there.
Yeah, goodness me. Oh, getting stuck onto the spikes there.
Another nice hit from Game Over. That spin has definitely got some good power in it.
I have to say, despite the rookiness, of course, of Game Over, it seems Avalanche seems to be showing some drive issues here. It's not really taking advantage of the mistakes that Game Over is that much, and Game Over is actually on the offensive here, but it's coming back with a nice little shot there. Both robots...
Part of that front wedge on Game Over is looking very wounded at this point of the fight as well. As we enter the second half of the fight, Avalanche drives into the drums, but gets a very good push, nearly getting Game Over right into those wall spikes.
Yeah, this is what I mean. I think both robots are having some issues driving here. They're attacking the arena more than each other right now. It's... we'll have to bill you later here, Foxy, really. It's not looking too good here.
As you say that, a deflection into the wall. Oh, the floor flipper activates and Avalanche is a bit out of control, nearly out the arena. Oh.
That's the kind of risk you play here when you have a horizontal spinner. You know, it turns it into a wheel sometimes.
Avalanche just took out one of the wall spikes, if you look by the user zone as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. We'll have to bill you later. It definitely seems like this arena is getting its pay, really, here. It's getting... it's not looking too good as both robots' course.
It's getting destroyed!
Yeah, both robots are just... I think that they might have agreed behind the scenes to hit your walls a lot more than each other. It's maybe some kind of slight aggression.
Whoa, what a push from Avalanche!
From Avalanche there, despite having no wedges underneath and pushes around. Game Over trying to get an angle in there that fails.
Well, we see a last minute hit from either bot here. It looks like they're both hurting a lot. One more hit could end it.
Come on, can we get at least something coming along? Nothing. I don't think so, yeah.
That's Flame Jet's fire to end the match.
A fantastic battle between these two robots, showing fantastic hits at the start there, blow after blow, exchanging paint more or less. But as the fight went on and control seemed to suffer, Avalanche pulled ahead a bit more and got some fantastic blows in, tearing away at the newcomer's outer shell and striking it in places where it really doesn't want it to be. And on a 7-5 decision, Avalanche is your victor. Here we go, the Clusterbot Neola against the Lifter Pusher kind of combo of Silly Goose. Let's see who will take the victory as the lights go green. Silly Goose getting a good push off there on the cluster there.
Oh, the flamethrower is already upside down.
Oh yeah, I know, but I don't think that it's going to be all too phased.
Oh, it's back over, driving straight into the drums. That almost looked intentional.
Oh. I definitely have to see here, looking from the strategy so far. I mean, the more aggressive robot. Taking advantage of the control there, or the lack of control from Silly Goose there. As
that was a very interesting move, deflecting Silly Goose off the drums and onto the ramrods. It does seem that Neola have a very interesting strategy here. The drum seems to be staying back and getting up to speed, while the flame goes on the prowl and gets the bigger hits in.
Yeah, I could definitely see that here, and that strategy seems to be paying off well, as you can see how the drum is playing quick and well, I suppose...
Oh, is the flame dead? It seems very dormant right now.
Oh yeah, it's kind of staying there. Is it alright? The drum bot still making up for...
it moved. Okay, the flame seems fine.
Okay, we're all good there, all good. Bit of concern there, a bit concerned. But I have to say, though...
Oh, there goes a wheel! And Silly Goose is positively scorched at this point. It's definitely having issues now. It seems to be gliding more than it is controlled movement.
Yeah, and the drum bot, I think, can see this. It's going in for the kill. It's looking to get a nice, lovely, meaty shot in. And Silly Goose, I think, is just going to try...
It's trying to just step out of the way. Oh, team attack there! The flame is back upside down.
Yeah, but it's still doing its job.
Oh, that's a top plate, I
Piece by
think.
piece, little by little, we're getting roast duck here.
Another wheel
Foxii.
gone.
And look at the push there. Even though it's upside down, it's still got plenty of pushing power left in it. And it's definitely going to be able to push around a robot that can barely move right now. It is just drifting across the arena at this point. I don't think it has much offensive power left in it. It is a duck without its bill, Foxii.
This is a very interesting thing here. I don't think this counts enough as control. Are we going to see... We are seeing a count out!
There we go. It's going to count out.
Can Silly Goose drive? Or is it just the lifter that's firing? Oh, it's fine. The count out has been called off.
Yeah, I think Neola wants to go in for the kill there. I don't think they...
There's the blow!
Oh my
And it's stuck on the wall. Silly Goose is definitely hurting now with one wheel left. Another count-out starts, but it frees itself from the wall spikes.
Goodness me. And Neola goes back in again. It wants to kill.
That's the last wheel. That is the last wheel. It's ramming it around, and it's stuck on the wall.
Yeah.
This is definitely a count-out. There it is.
Oh my goodness me, Foxii. I think Neola didn't just want to win that fight. I think they wanted to completely decimate their opponent. Congratulations to Neola, what a strong showing.
And what a phenomenal first showing from Neola there. Silly Goose getting one lift in at the start, flipping that flame over, but just never having any more success with it after that. The drum just chipping away at it bit by bit, with the flame just destroying the rubber on those tires. Over and over, Neola just took apart Silly Goose, ripping off the plow, ripping off wheels. It was an absolutely murderous showing. Neola by KO, winning their first ever match. And now back out for a second fight today. We have Counterpoint and Game Over. Both of these bots coming off a loss, looking to redeem themselves. Ooh, Game Over straight out the gates. Thought it was going for a box rush, but it backs off a little bit.
Yeah, Counterpoint, of course, waiting tentatively, of course, getting its spinner up to
Misfire
speed.
on the lifter, a couple of hits from each spinner there. Not too much damage received by the look of it, though.
Good wedging there from Game Over. Counterpoint hitting it with a spinner that's not spun up at all. Game Over span up to top speed.
Oh, decent hit there. I think that's part of one of the wedgelets that's just flown off.
Some good shots there. I think Counterpoint is going to try and want to utilise that lift.
Ooh, what an impressive hit there!
Definitely not going to be able to lose that lifter there if it's upside down from shot from Counterpoint. Game Over there. Good stuff. Good
Oh, the
stuff.
lifter coming into play, and Game Over is going crazy. It seems to be stable again now. Counterpoint is definitely up to speed, though.
Game Over wants to be careful there, of course, when it gets tipped over because...
That's a wheel guard on Game Over.
We've already seen that happen before in the Terabyte fight. It's looking similarly damaged in his previous fight against Avalanche, against Terabyte. But Counterpoint...
There it goes! Right at the camera!
Goodness me! Blinking, you missed that! Wow! Interesting stuff there. Good.
Sky high! Wow!
Yeah. Some good showing of control here, of course, from Counterpoint. Oh, Counterpoint doing something similar!
Not anymore! There it goes! But self-rising pretty efficiently. That lifter definitely coming into play. More as a Shremek than a lifter, though, however.
Oh, onto the swords there. Good
nice shot to the back.
There. And I think that's that's definitely a
Game Over definitely hurt.
Oh dear!
Oh, good little lift there.
Good lift there.
Taking
Oh, that has
advantage of the
ramrod again. Oh my
again.
dear!
Counterpoint can't take advantage this time.
Oh, good shot, but Foxii, I think I'm starting to see that right side of Game Over fail it almost. It's definitely pulling.
Oh, one of the wedgelets just flew off.
Ooh!
And yes,
despite its lifting there.
A phenomenal lift there. That's the best we've seen from that front lifter. And yes, I definitely see what you mean about that right side. It definitely looks like Game Over is crab walking now.
No, I don't think that it takes out a wheel! I think it's not going to be the only robot that's crab walking in this fight so far.
Counterpoint now may also be hurting.
Goodness me, even despite its control issues.
Another good lift!
Oh,
I want to take back my comment about that lifter being just a self-righter. Counterpoint is really putting it into effect in the closing minute of this fight.
So yeah, I have to say that Counterpoint has demonstrated some fantastic control there. Oh, but it's stuck. Oh, it got it a free! good stuff
Another
there.
good use of that lifter. It does seem in these last few seconds of the match, the bots are both dancing around each other, tentatively trying to get that one last hit.
It's Counterpoint definitely wants to utilize that spinner a lot more. Try not to, maybe not wanting to use that lifter anymore. I think it wants to get more damage on the cards there. But use that lift
one
again.
last lift, yes!
I think that's going to be it. I think that's going terribly good showing there from Counterpoint at the end. Very strong start there, of course, shown from Game Over, getting some very nice hits in. But as the fight went along, you can see Counterpoint started tearing away at key pieces of Game Over, destroying them in both armor and in control. I mean, Game Over may have managed to get some good shots in there during the middle of the match, but near the end, Counterpoint utilising the arena and every other advantage available to him to just completely dominate the rookie machine. And on an 8-5, Counterpoint snatches the victory. And it begins! Burnout versus Cerberus. I'm very interested to see who will come out on top on this battle. Burnout, of course, charging towards Cerberus. Cerberus trying to get those saws and Crusher in. Burnout with a good first flip there, tossing over Cerberus, doing a 360. But Cerberus coming back in with a good crush, pushing him against the wall. I think get those saws into play there.
The saws and the arena hammer at the same time. What a good combination from Cerberus there, pretty much out the gates. That one flip, the Cerberus was retaliated well.
Fantastic pairing, already cutting off pieces of Cerberus and
good little flip from Burnout.
Needs to get escape, but Burnout retorts!
And another one!
Getting free, and getting in again! Oh, Cerberus
seems a little inactive. Oh, a count has started. Oh, it's mobile again. We're fine. A little bit worried there.
I think the controls of Cerberus are a bit complex, and there might be some teething issues there.
Very much so. I'm hoping they can
back
get to grips.
Oh,
what a retaliation from Burnout there!
Shoo! Ridiculous blows there from Burnout, and Cerberus, of course, flailing about, trying its best, trying to find some purchase with its rotating wheels. There it goes.
Briefly self-righted into the arena drum and is stranded on that side again. That seems like a little bit of an issue. Near the shelf, Burnout tosses it up onto the shelf.
Yeah, it seems like Cerberus is not going to win any control points so far, but it gets off. Very good driving there. Enough the ground clearance to get out of that perilous situation. Burnout slamming into the wall. Both robots, I think, trying to recompose themselves, lining up. Cerberus, not so much. Oh, there we go, finally. Getting back
a little more control, but tossed over by Burnout once more.
Yeah, and Cerberus getting underneath a bit for a few moments. It's
good bite down on the flipper there.
Yeah, nice little crush. I have to say, back and forth between the two, but I'd say that Burnout is the much more composed of the two, to be honest.
So at this point in the fight, I'd certainly agree with that. Cerberus definitely needs to get those weapons into play a little bit more.
Just about like, just when I think it's about to with Cerberus, it's just like Burnout just sneaks away. Oh, and nice little crush there on the spoiler.
Oh, there's a very good one, and into the arena drums.
Oh, fantastic play there, fantastic work there from Cerberus. Cerberus, though, I wouldn't say is all too damaged, but Burnout the same way as well. It's not even that
the floor flipper getting in the way a bit there. I can't tell if that was Burnout's or the floor flipper's power there.
Might have been a bit of both. Here we go, coming out of the last 30 seconds. Can we see something incredible, something ecstatic? I don't quite know. Cerberus flipping around like a flying fish, trying to find some kind of purchase.
And a mighty flip there from Burnout. That's the best one we've seen in one match.
Blow! Goodness gracious me. He's gone out the last 10 seconds. Can Cerberus retort with anything fantastic?
It cannot. It's stuck on the drum. Trying to weasel its way out of there, and the match concludes with it still in the drum.
Oh,
we're going to need to see it free itself, and at the moment it doesn't look like it can.
Can it escape?
Think that's freed itself, so we are going to take this to the judges. A very good first showing from the two machines here. Burnout definitely coming out the gate strong, but Cerberus getting a very nice retaliation. Both bots showing what they can do in the opening few seconds of the match. It definitely seemed like Burnout had the control game here, being able to retaliate and free itself from the majority of Cerberus's attacks, and getting some very good tosses on this awkwardly designed machine. Cerberus, however, still able to control throughout the majority of the match. running Burnout right into the arena drums and making very good uses of the hazards throughout. However, in the closing seconds of the match, Burnout gets an absolutely monster flip and follows it up by getting Cerberus stuck in and on the drums. Did it seem fully mobile enough? It seemed our judges think so because they wanted to judge the match for the full 3 minutes of it. And in the end, they have given it to Cerberus on an 8-5 JD. And welcome back to the Foxii Fighters Week 1 show. We just concluded the Ruby group, and what an amazing set of fights they were. Starting with Counterpoint and Terabyte, and addressing the elephant in the room, the Debiter. Now John, I know you mentioned earlier that you heard that 40 was working on something in the pits, and I think we now know what that something was.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Debiter came as a surprise to us all when we saw Counterpoint entering the arena for the first time. That was the first time any of us saw it, and some of us weren't quite sure how it was going to work out, but it did its job for a fair bit of the fight. It debited reasonably well for a little while, but not quite well enough, unfortunately. But it certainly did. It was a nice surprise to see in the arena.
Yes, I thought the fight was incredible, and I think it's a solid show and display of the ingenuity and creativity that some builders can have, especially with 40 ounce pulling out the Debiter, really, as it's been lovingly called. Though, I think despite this creative tool, I think it did 50% of its job. While it did indeed keep Terabyte away, it didn't really capitalize a lot on doing so. And I think Terabyte actually had the pushing power to push back when it was being divided. And evidently from seeing how the wheels were just getting ripped off from Counterpoint, Terabyte definitely wasn't really that effective that much with the Debiter. And despite it being looking fantastic, and despite it working sometimes, it really didn't have that much impact in the end. However, I can't say the same about it not being successful when it comes to its fight against Game Over. It was an incredible display of not only pure damage, but pure control as well. A perfect utilization of spinner and lifter there, and despite Game Over showing off a impressive performance on its own, I think Counterpoint was right to get that judge's win.
I do think that win was very much what Counterpoint needed in that second fight. After a very destructive loss in that opening fight to Terabyte, it was nice to see Counterpoint working at its fullest against Game Over. I managed to catch 40 for a few minutes after his second fight, so let's hear what he had to say about his matches. So I'm here with 40, the builder of Counterpoint, just after the Game Over fight, coming off a very nice win there. But before we talk about that, I just have to ask about your Debiter against Terabyte. What was the thought process behind that?
Well, you see, I know Terabyte relies a lot on its pole to self-right. I thought if I could make something that would sort of trap the pole and keep it far enough away to not hit my body, I'd be able to survive. Because I thought about that matchup and I didn't trust the durability of my robot enough to last 3 minutes with that thing.
I think the best thing is, like, as you said, it did the trapping the pole part. You just didn't quite keep it far enough away from you. It seemed to just clip that chassis.
Yeah, it just barely got me, and then I think it hit one of the wheels, and after that it was all over.
Yeah, but hey, you definitely redeemed yourself in the Game Over fight. It looked like Counterpoint was hurting a little bit towards the end, so do you think durability could be an issue going forward, or are you going to work on that?
Yeah, I think it could be an issue. I'm trying to think of ways to sort of remedy that. What I've found is that once one of my back wheels goes down, if the other one doesn't go down soon after, it really has trouble driving, and that can really mess me up in some fights. Because you need to have precision driving with something as specialized as Counterpoint.
I wasn't predicting you to win the Game Over fight, which I feel a little bit bad about now, but I definitely think seeing it perform quite as well as it did, especially the lifter, you got some very good lifts in. I think definitely I've got more faith in it going forward. Taking a look at your group, is there anyone in there that you're just not wanting to fight, like, at all?
After seeing what Terabyte was capable of with its shell spinner, I'm quite scared of facing a lot like Avalanche. That thing looks very mean. I just hope that I'll be able to smother it with my lifter up against a wall or something if I ever come up against it. Then there's also Neola. That is one robot I do not want to be put against. That thing is very, very effective, especially for a cluster bot.
Yeah, definitely. I think we saw that against Silly Goose. Completely. A very surprising knockout. And the last thing I want to know, speaking of surprises, the Debiter was a wonderful surprise. Is there going to be anything else that we're just not expecting to come from Counterpoint?
Well, I do have a lot of spare metal, so if I come up with some more wacky attachments, those might see the light of day in some more fights. I do have a couple ideas for some specialized ones. I'm currently thinking of some specialized armor to try and protect against the Crusher or Saws of Cerberus, if I ever come up against it.
You mentioned before not wanting to fight Avalanche. That's your fight for next week.
Yeah, I think I may have to rely on the plow. I may put some more weight into that horizontal configuration. Given that it's an undercutter, I might actually remove the lifter and go full with the undercutter if I have enough time. I don't know if I'll have enough time to do that though.
Well, regardless of what you do, Counterpoint has put on 2 very entertaining fights so far, and I'm sure myself and everyone else is looking forward to seeing more of it, so thank you for your time.
And we move on to Game Over. We saw in those first 2 fights, it did come out on the losing end both times. But despite that, it is still doing quite well for its group. There's definitely potential for bounce back and maybe a win in there. But as it goes so far, I think it's doing quite well.
On the opposite end of the 0-2 Game Over, we have the 1-0 Neola. They won their only fight this week against Silly Goose, and in my opinion, drove the fight almost perfectly. Silly Goose got that one lift in at the start, but after that it seemed at the mercy of both halves of the South Korean multi-bot. It seems that Rose knows what she's doing, and I'm looking forward to seeing the bot in future weeks.
And on to Fight 5, which saw Cerberus fighting Burnout. Now, we talked a fair bit about Cerberus back in the pilot and its weapon synergy with the vertical jaw and the dual saws. Didn't really get much use out of them against Burnout in this fight. Burnout getting quite a few flips in before Cerberus could really put those dual weapons into play, but a bit of a controversial one, this.
Yeah, the more I watch back this fight, the more I think that Burnout should have won it, personally. Cerberus seemed to be very stuck in the arena drums at the end, and I'm not sure why it wasn't counted out. Although, this was still a very good fight, and I'm hoping in future weeks that Burnout can redeem itself a little.
Though I think that's enough about discussing the Ruby group, because we are now moving on to the Emerald group, where our first starting match of Serpent against Truncator is about to begin, with both robots being loaded into the arena. I wonder who's going to take the victory here.
And now our first fight in the Emerald group. In the red square we have the rotary lifter Truncator, and in the blue square, the gas-powered flipper of Serpent. Quick out the gates here, and Truncator gets a nice little lift over.
Flipped over again, a piece already flying off of Serpent. Truncator on the offensive, showing that the rotary lifter means business in this battle.
Is Serpent driving alright? It seems to be playing under the arena hammer, which is not a good spot to be.
Yeah, Truncator seeing this, playing the patient game, trying to angle in, get a good spot in. I think Serpent's wedge might be a tad lower than what Truncator's wedgelets are. It's both robots trying to find an angle in at the moment, as you can see. Oh, that's not a good angle to be at, Serpent!
Serpent is an incredibly fast machine, and I'm almost wondering if it's a little bit too fast for the driver to control.
Yeah, and Truncator's trying to find its best angle. Probably a nice little flick there, a lick of flame, graze of paint.
We talked about it in the pilot episode, but that ring of fire is so gorgeous. Truncator, it might not be dealing the most damage with that fire, but it's certainly getting the style points.
I mean, yeah, if style was a category like the Robot Wars days of old, Truncator be winning this, but right now both robots are kind of losing it on control here, trying to find each other in this arena.
I don't know if you caught that there. I don't know if you caught that there, but Serpent is so low to the ground, it got caught on the floor flipper seam there. This machine is so well put together, but it just seems unable to get a good flip.
Oh yeah, Truncator taking advantage of the fact that Serpent got stuck, flipped over there by the flipper. Both robots being, I think, bullied more by the arena than each other.
Ooh, Truncator got a good run there, nearly tossing Serpent over and out, but just not being able to get that follow-up.
Pushing up against the wall, Serpent being corralled, harassed, Serpent snacking back in, of course, the lower wedge angling in. I think Serpent has got a much more wider, I suppose, wedging platform than the focus wedgelets of Truncator.
Despite that, it still seems to be struggling to get underneath. It doesn't seem to be having much success at all.
Yeah, I don't know if that's because of damage the wedgelets has caused it to be harder to get underneath, or Truncator is just that low. I mean, both robots have sustained damage, and those swords didn't help Serpent at all when it went on against him. And the flames might be racking up some kind of damage.
Those ramrods, they seem to be such a nuisance for some of the drivers.
Jeez, yeah, I mean, Truncator, of course, didn't take advantage of that situation at all as we come down, of course, the final 15 seconds.
Not a massively eventful fight here, but I have to say, I do think Truncator is on top at the moment.
Yeah, I do have to agree. I think Truncator's managed to actually get some good flips in, and Serpent, not at all, really,
and that's the match!
Yeah, that's the match. Oh, Truncator! Whoa!
Hang on, why is it still going in? Whoa, the judges are not happy with that.
Calm down, please! Christ!
And a good first match in the Emerald group, with a bit of a controversial ending, but we'll address that more later. Truncator coming out strong, getting some good flips. Serpent, I definitely think it was too fast for the driver to control, which is unfortunate, as it did look like a really well-rounded machine in our test fights. Although, I don't think control was the biggest factor in this match, as both of them seemed to get attacked by the arena quite a lot. Serpent just unable to get a flip, and that mistime causing Truncator to get a really nice lift in, as it did throughout most of the fight. And here we have it, the controversial moment towards the end of the fight. The bell had clearly sounded at this point, and Truncator just went back in for one final attack. However, despite this, the judges have still given this to Truncator on a 7-5.
Oh, this is going to be an exciting battle in the Emerald group. We've got Akira, the deadly horizontal spinner, coming from a somewhat rookie against a veteran orc with Mundo.
An interesting strategy out the gate here from Mundo. It seems to be reversing into that spinning blade of Akira, trying to stop it.
Oh, and so far I think it
seems to be working, yes.
Though it's getting outpushed here by Akira, that I know that Akira's wedge is quite...
a good flip there.
Good flip, though, with Mundo taking advantage, of course, of the...
the swords have killed the weapon! How unfortunate! Mundo gets one flip nearly out, and another flip, and Akira's stuck on the spikes!
Is this going to be over already?
See a count out? We are seeing a count out! Mundo backs off to make sure people know, and the floor flipper pays for the price.
It can't be over already, Foxy. I was.
It's done.
Oh my goodness me!
What a short fight. Now this was a very short match. Mundo just knew exactly what it needed to do there. The driver did this perfectly. Kept that back pointed towards it, slowed that spinner of Akira down, just never really let it get up to speed. Tossed it over once, and then as we saw, the sword's just cutting off that front weapon support and really just crippling Akira. And there it is, the flip that gets Akira stuck on those wall spikes. And of course, Mundo wins its first fight by knockout.
Once more, a fantastic battle in the Emerald group. Tough as nails in the red square, Scanning in the blue square. Who's going to win? I don't know, but my bet is on Tough as nails. Look at that gaping maw as it grabs onto Skynet and pushes it around.
I'm confused which one here is actually doing the drive. Oh no, it's definitely Tough as nails. Both of them onto the shelf.
Let's go off-road! Goodness me! Tough as Nails trying to show Skynet something fun up on top of the shelf there by getting itself stuck. Can it get off?
Both
Yes,
of them
it
are
can.
free. Skynet's got that overhead disc up to speed now and gets a nice little clip on those claws.
Yeah, but it's not really doing much else as Tough as Nails is leading it in directions it does not want to go, pushing up.
Oh no, Skynet's the one doing the driving there, pushing
Oh!
Tough as Nails sideways.
Oh,
Wow.
I think Tough as Nails really needs to keep an eye out on Skynet because it's clear Skynet has the pushing power to also direct it around. Both of them doing a ballet dance of death. Who is going to get a good strike in?
Tough as Nails
Does
releases and instantly grabs again. Skynet needs to keep that weapon pointed towards and try and hit, I think, on that piston at the back. Maybe try and get grabbed front on and just hit it. I don't know how well armored that piston is, but it doesn't...
Probably, yeah.
Oh, that was a decent shot
Ooh.
there, but there was no speed in the disc at the time.
Pushed around once more by Skynet. Tough as Nails. It's such a grappling machine. It's just manhandling Skynet a bit. Kind of like a sumo wrestler, if you will. But getting stuck there. Can Skynet find some kind of purchase there? It's a good strike. A good hit.
No, it cannot.
No.
It just seems to back off. I think it might be trying to get a good hit on the wheels. I'm not sure at this point. Oh, another hit on the claws, but it doesn't seem to be doing anything.
It does not want to
But
hit on
that
the
was
claws.
a very nice push there.
Onto the shelf, but Tough as Nails, as you know, an absolute monster truck of a robot is going to get straight off. Skynet just kind of leaving it there, not really moving in to grab, and once more gets grabbed again by Tough as Nails.
Another clip on that claw, but it's still just not doing the damage that I'm sure Skynet wants to deal here.
I think Skynet's not taking enough opportunities here. It's being pushed over into the hammer there. Tough as Nails, I think, is being a lot more opportunistic than Skynet, really.
Skynet seems
really-
to have almost clamped it with the little support arms on the back of its saw there.
Oh yeah, he's got a little bit. He's leading around, trying to do anything really, but more or
Skynet
less driving
certainly
itself
has
into
the
walls.
pushing power here, but it just doesn't seem able to use it, unfortunately.
No, it's
Oh, it got one of the little support arms off there. You can see it
Ooh.
just get pushed out the way.
That's not going to be good for Tough as Nails if it tips over onto that side, but I don't think it will. I don't think Skynet's going to have any ability to turn it over.
Let's hear the
I
floor
think-
flipper's the only way I think Skynet's going to get it over here, and I don't
Yeah,
think it has
and
the ability to control it
he's
around.
on the run for the last 10 seconds. Once more, grabbed again. We are seeing a lot of this maneuver really there as Tough as Nails pushes him up almost sideways onto the wall. Gonna hold him there for the last few seconds. Oh my goodness me.
And now, a very slow fight this one, but still a very good control match nonetheless. Skynet just never really seemed to get that weapon to the right place, and of course, towards the opening seconds of the match, we saw Tough as Nails carry both itself and Skynet onto the shelf. However, it was impressive that even despite being grabbed, Skynet still had the pushing power to really just shove Tough as Nails around. That was the only time that Skynet really got a good shot in between those claws, but unfortunately the disc was not up to speed. But it continued dominating that middle minute of the fight by pushing it onto the shelf. But at the end, the final minute was mostly all Tough as Nails. And here we see the shot that caused the only real damage in the fight, knocking one of those little support casters off. But overall, Tough as Nails wins on a 7-5 JD. And now, Fight 4, we see two 1-0 bots looking to go undefeated in Week 1. Truncator and Mundo are back for their second fight, and the saw's firing right away! I think that took a piece off Truncator, but I'm not fully sure who that actually came off.
Oh, whatever it was, I think it was negligible really, not really affecting the fight all that much as both robots trying to find a good angle in. Mundo getting a nice
A
little
lot of
flip.
misfire on the
Truncator
weapons so far, but definitely
whip.
intent. Oh, that's a nice flip from Mundo, tossing Truncator over.
Oh! Pushing up against the wall. Truncator getting away. Truncator angling up, lining up, trying to get a lift in on Mundo. Mundo having much easier time on the attack there.
Ooh, little
Truncator
cheeky
being
shot
straight.
from the axe there, that's
Oh.
always good to see.
Axe flip. Good little 1-2 punch there from Mundo. Truncator
Weapon
herself right.
synergy that we love to see, I think.
It's definitely going to show good on the cards. Truncator, I think, still trying to get a proper lift in with a rotary lifter.
In its last fight, it seemed that like Serpent could not get underneath Truncator, but in this fight it's the exact opposite. It seems Truncator's the one struggling to get under. Even with those hinge wedgelets, as you just saw, Mundo went straight under the front, but is it stuck?
It's stuck.
A count out briefly starts. Oh, yep, it's free again.
It's free. Or that might just say a lot about Mundo's wedge being that low as it scrapes underneath the arena. Goodness me, good thing it didn't flip the arena alongside that process. Getting a good, close there, angling in, but not getting a flip there on Truncator. Truncator trying to line up once more.
Misfire from the axe, and trying to get those wedges underneath, but Truncator is just dodging out the way. I don't know what Truncator can do here, really.
I think he's trying to do something, but he's not really doing anything. He's kind of being angled in, getting stuck there against the getting hit there by the axe. Truncator, like I said, I think.
There's its first lift.
Fantastic lift!
Mundo is down off its side.
That could have been really bad for Mundo, but that was a very good showing there from Truncator. Truncator being flipped there by Mundo.
I am slightly worried for Mundo. What happens if it gets beached on the side and it's not near the arena wall? Because it seemed to use that to get itself down. We may have just seen a potential strategy for Truncator in this closing minute here.
Maybe the axe will help it out a bit more. We'll have to see.
However, underneath, and Truncator is onto the shelf. The drum's briefly clamping it.
Can it get off? That's the question. It scrapes the floor a lot. Maybe I think it will scrape the drums a lot more as well. The count
is underway. It appears beached on the angled walls at the back. It's trying its hardest.
Yeah, not going to get off there. Truncator, I think, too low for its own good. Mundo scoring a second victory.
And now another good match here between two previously undefeated robots from their first fight. This was just the opposite of Truncator's first fight. It never seemed to be able to do much aside from this one lift there. And Mundo just kept flipping it and flipping it. A slightly mistimed flip there, but it didn't matter because the one after just got Truncator onto the shelf and it could not get free. An unfortunate loss for Truncator, but two very strong knockouts for Mundo within this first week. And now, Soundwave and Gosling, our final fight in the Emerald group. A powerful overhead against a crusher. This should be a very interesting matchup. And both bots fairly tentative out the gate there. Gosling trying to get that beak in before it spun up, but no, Soundwave is up to speed, and there goes the beak!
Oh dearie me, you know, I have such high hopes of Gosling in this match. I was hoping for him to win, but it doesn't seem like there's going to be much of that. Of course, you saw the smoke from the cylinder come out there.
The side being utterly dissolved by Soundwave here. That spinner is so powerful.
I'm hoping for the best, Gosling, please. Dismantled. This poor goose went into the arena expecting some good old crumbs, some feed. It's finding a mallet instead in the shape of Soundwave. It
was expecting crumbs, but it's being turned into them. Oh, the flamethrower is still working though. A little bit of a liquor flame there. Yeah, that wedge is certainly still effective, despite nothing else seeming to be right now.
Yeah, I think that disc is just high enough to clip the claw, so that
the head has buckled in on itself now, and the ramrod's giving Soundwave perfect time to get up to speed.
Poor thing. Look away, Peter.
Parts flying off and off. The battery exposed now. Is Gosling on fire? I think Gosling might be on fire.
Oh, it's burning itself, perhaps. I don't know.
Oh no! Poor bird.
Roast duck or roast goose, perhaps. Oh no.
We saw this with Silly Goose in the Ruby group against Neola, but this is another Goosebot just getting destroyed.
Yeah, geese are not having.
Oh, there's the head off altogether!
No!
Oh, the poor thing!
Headless!
Credit to it! It is a durable machine. That thing is still moving. And that wedge is still effective.
I have to agree. I mean, as we know in the legend, of course, if chickens can survive a few minutes without a head, then so too can a goose, I guess.
Close enough, yeah.
Yeah,
it definitely seems to still be able to just go face first into that spinner and get it stopped, or just deflect it. You never know. It might get a lucky deflection at this point still.
It's just being as aggressive as it can, because I think that's what it has.
Both of them go flying, and Gosling ends Gosling's on the shelf! No!
Oh, can Gosling fly out? Can Gosling escape?
Almost. The drum's just
almost
carrying
there,
it
come on.
back.
The count out, counting it away. No!
That's a knockout. I think that's the best knockout we've had so far. What a phenomenal ending to such a destructive fight. Gosling just never really got it going. That head was just cut off right at the start. And it was such a shame. But nonetheless, Gosling did such a good job of just keeping the pressure on Soundwave, despite being on fire, as you see here, for a good bit of the match. The head getting cut off as we head towards the final minute, but Gosling just kept going all the way through. This massive hit that just unfortunately meant Gosling ended up on the shelf, meaning the fight would not go to the JD. And of course the very comical end of Gosling getting wedged behind one of our arena drums. Soundwave by KO, a very good set of fights in the Emerald group this week.
And those were our 5 fights for the Emerald group, and we'll start with Serpent and Truncator, and that was a difficult one for Serpent, wasn't it? Just couldn't get under, just couldn't get that flipper into play anywhere near as much as it would have wanted.
So a bit of controversy spawning out of this fight, a bit of concern after Truncator hit a late attack on Serpent. Not a great look for ZDR and his robot, and it's for that reason that 2 points has been deducted from Truncator.
Yes, an unfortunate end to the first fight, but moving on into fight 2, from a fight that lasted the full 3 minutes, to a fight that didn't even last 1. Mundo and Akira. And honestly, you have to feel bad for Akira in this one. It just never really got that spinner properly going, and I'm hoping that next week we'll see it live up to its full potential against someone else in the group. However, I do think we definitely need to give credit to Mundo here for picking up a very convincing win in its first fight.
Yes, and going from a fight that was decided by damage to a fight that was completely all about control. Skynet versus Tough as Nails was a battle that pretty much, I'd say, was 80% hugging from Tough as Nails there. And while Skynet was able to push around and managed to manipulate Tough as Nails a bit, while inside of that hug, Tough as Nails just would not let go of Skynet and would bring Skynet around the arena, moving them into places they don't want to be, and just managed to avoid any kind of opportunity that Skynet could have had to land any kind of decisive strike. A good win by a fantastic control bot. Hope to see more Tough as Nails in the future. Commiserations to Skynet. Speaking more about this fight, of course, we have the loser of the match, Crystal, and the builder of Skynet.
And just after coming off a tough loss from Tough as Nails, I'm here with Crystal, the builder and driver of Skynet. So, how did you feel about your loss? It was a very close judge's decision. Were you disappointed at all?
Honestly, it was a tight fight. Whichever way that was going to go, I knew I was proud of myself for bringing up a close fight like that, whereas a 1 point difference. That win or lose there, I still got points either way here, and I feel decently good chance to my group to go far.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Looking at the predictions that we all made at the start of this, myself and Red put you down as winning this fight. I went with Tough as Nails. I'm a little bit concerned about the damage that Skynet can output. It doesn't really seem to have that knockout power. So is there anything you intend to do with Skynet going forward to give everyone a bit more faith in it?
Well, I think bringing on a comment that Red said one time, Skynet always brings along the underdog energy. And I feel like that I want to continue. I don't ever want a bad fight in the arena there. So I might be bringing out a secret config to replace the flamethrower for the competition.
I am looking forward to seeing that. Now, looking at your group, there are a couple of tough bots in there, but is there anyone in your group in particular who you're just not looking forward to fighting at all? Like, you're a bit scared?
Honestly, I don't really care about who I'm scared of, who I'm not there. Like, sure, there's a couple of good, interesting bots in there, like Serpent and Soundwave, but they're just harder challenges, and once again, like I said, I want to bring the underdog energy, which it brings a good shot for this crew.
Now, next week you've got 2 matches against Soundwave and Gosling. Are there either of those that you're looking forward to more than the other, or are you just hoping...
I'm looking forward to the fight with Gosling. I love Gosling.
It's such a fun bot. Its fight against Soundwave was great.
Yeah, can't wait to rip off that beak. I don't care if I win or if I lose there. I'm just here for a good time.
I love that attitude. It's very respectable. And I'm sure, as all my co-hosts will agree, we're looking forward to seeing more of Skynet in the future. We're hoping that, despite your loss today, you're not disheartened. We're going to get some good wins from it. So thank you for your time. Fight 4 was a very interesting one for me. Both bots coming off a win in their opening match, and seeing who can stay undefeated. And I have to say, I don't think this was the result any of us were expecting. Mundo going 2-0 is a bit of a shock, but it's proving itself to be quite the force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, a much less convincing performance this time around for Truncator, especially after its result against Serpent. In fact, this time around, really struggled to get underneath Mundo throughout the fight, and ultimately losing the battle, being the latest victim claimed by the raised platform in the arena, just couldn't get back down off of it.
And the last match that we got to see this week for the Emerald Group, Soundwave versus Gosling. And it has to be said, it's definitely a perfect coincidence for Soundwave with the bar height that it had. Able to just so cleanly take off Gosling's Crusher. Did it really early into the fight, and is exactly what it needed to make a convincing victory look just that more powerful. I think it's definitely made Soundwave one to fear if you're going up against it. And we're moving on now. I can just see into the arena that we are getting the Sapphire group underway, and I think I'll have to get a move on because I'm up against Leviathan.
The first fight of the Sapphire group, it is the deadly shuffler Leviathan against the flipper controlling bot of AJ Ormanflinger. Let's see who will win this match so far. AJ Ormanflinger
straight underneath, but getting corralled against the wall there, and a little bit of a hit on top of the flipper there.
Yeah, but I have to say, I think that Leviathan is lacking in reach there and flips once!
Oh, and it's on the wall spike!
On the spike!
Can it free itself? Is this fight over in one flip? The countdown has started! Oh my god, we could be seeing a massive upset here.
I had high hopes for AJ to win this fight, and I think it's about to. It has done so!
What a short fight, but an incredible fight to kick off the Sapphire group. An unfortunate start to Leviathan's career. AJ just got right under at the beginning and just never really gave a chance for Leviathan to do anything past that first clip on those stoppers at the top of the wedge. One flip is all AJ needed, and it wins its first fight by a very impressive KO. And now, fight 2. After a very short first match between AJ and Leviathan, we have Abyss and Huo Wang. Another big spinner against a control bot.
Yeah, hopefully this fight lasts longer.
Yeah, we'll have a very short group here if it doesn't. But let's see if this one ends up the same way as the last one, with the control bot coming out on top. Oh, not looking like it will! Ooh. But Huo driving right over the source there and losing some of that decoration on the side. Not massive.
Getting underneath Abyss. Trying to angle, I suppose. It's what angle I'm saying angling in a lot, really, so far, but that's just how it is in Robot Combat. You've got to find the correct angle, the good place to strike in, and
those wedge flips on Huo are doing the job so far. They seem to be getting underneath and allowing that giant egg beater to just get the hits it needs.
Indeed, I think Abyss just is too specific with its forks. While it's their low, Huo Wang has just a wider wedge, and I think you just get underneath a lot easier than Abyss at such a specific angle of attack, if you will.
Well, that was
still pushing another
very weird grab. I think Abyss might have grabbed through the egg beater and just been lifted over there. That is some... Yeah. Whoa! What a hit there!
Oh, I'll say who was suplexing who in that moment? Goodness me!
Abyss has such a very nice weapon system. I am hoping to see that weapon get a proper clamp and lift at some point in this fight, but it's just not happened in this first half.
Yeah, Huo Wang's... God, another fantastic blow. Abyss trying to self-right Huang, seeing if it's stuck underneath, stuck under. Not at all. Both robots once more. Resetting,
We enter
trying
the
to find a
second
good
half
angle.
of the match now, and it appears that Abyss is staying just as aggressive it has been, but that aggression is just being wasted because Huo just seems to be able to get under it from all angles.
Just piece by piece, Huang is just chipping away at Abyss. Abyss, of course, still mostly together, but
Over the swords
Let's
again!
go. Oh,
That's a
let's
bit of a
go.
lack of
Oh.
control there from Huo. I think I saw a couple of big parts fly off that time.
yeah, you shouldn't be dancing
Oh, and a
around.
phenomenal grab there!
Whoa!
And is
Right
Huo on the
there.
spikes? I don't know if Huo can get down from this.
Oh, and that's the big issue, of course, with spinners. They are powerful, but I don't think they can get themselves up. There's a count there. Abyss watching on.
The weapon
Huang
is spinning, the wheels are
also-
turning, the self-righter is
He's
firing, but there is
flailing.
no one at home, and that is the knockout.
Fantastic win there for another control belt. Great job, Abyss. Commiserations to Huang.
Yes, that was a very unfortunate loss for Huo, as it was definitely on top for the large portion of the fight. Getting all the hits, getting underneath Abyss pretty consistently, and getting this weird suplex, as you just saw. Those wedgelets on the front were so effective at just exposing Abyss's very slight ground clearance around that wraparound wedge. But the lack of control over the saws, and eventually I think a driving error from Swen, meant that Abyss could just pick Huo up and drop it on the spikes, getting its first win by a knockout. A good showing from both bots.
And here we go. Howler in the red square. Electromotivation in the blue square. Let's see who's going to come out on top in this battle. Howler, of course, coming out, trying to find a good angle in to get underneath Electromotivation. Chasing him, getting hit by the flipper.
And getting flipped over by Electromotivation! Ooh, but Electromotivation lets itself right, but stays aggressive, stays on it, and
Pinning up against.
gets it over again!
Oh. This is not good for Howler, not in a good position, especially when they've got all the bits that they don't want to get hit, stuck on the top there for Electromotivation, just slap up against. Howler trying its best to self-right,
Electromotivation is just
struggling.
keeping it pinned against that wall and unable to self-right. It will have to back away eventually, which it did, but it just seems that Howler is, once again, even with those low hinge wedges at the front, Electromotivation is just outclassing it in the wedge department here.
I think Howler is just trying its best to try and find a good angle in, but Electromotivation is just keeping it on the front, not getting it around at all. Howler is trying to find some kind of angle. Good push there, but not
Picked
at all.
up by the
Getting
ramrods
stuck on the
that
hazards.
ruins that amazing push. Electromotivation hitting it and knocking what I think is the base plate out from underneath Howler.
Oh, goodness me.
Ooh, part of
Howler-
those beautifully crafted ribs going now as well. It doesn't seem like Howler can really do much here. It's just getting completely destroyed. But Electromotivation is stuck. Is Howler going to go in for continuation? Yes, it is. It wants that bite, but it messes it up!
Oh, no! I was really hoping for Howler to get a bite there. Oh, it managed to get underneath there, but Electromotivation quickly slips away. Electromotivation proving to be a very slippery bugger in this battle.
Oh,
No!
there goes the head! Howler is weaponless now. Oh, Electromotivation chewing on that already disconnected base plate.
They're all slipping around on Howler's debris. Howler, I think, just trying its best to stay aggressive now. I think that's all it has, really, in this fight.
That
He's trying
front
to
lip
have
of
some
Howler is
possible-
also gone. There is hardly any wedge on the ground anymore. I think this is just going to be however long it takes Electromotivation to get the knockout now. I don't see anything that Howler can really do here. Its weapon is down, its wedge is down. It's just...
It's just kind of try its best and hope for maybe some kind of miracle, maybe Electromotivation getting stuck on its own organs, I suppose.
so
yeah,
unfortunate to see this beautifully crafted machine just torn apart, but Electromotivation is being so surgical with this.
I have to say, I think the wedge of Electromotivation really helps it out. Another good push there, of course, from Howler, but the wedge of Electromotivation is just so wide and so slippery. It's so difficult to maneuver around, especially with Electromotivation's fantastic turn speed, I suppose.
However,
It is just-
Electromotivation is missing one of its wedgelets. I didn't notice that happen.
Yeah, and that's probably because it doesn't need it, as it's just bullying Howler still, as it's not moving in the end of the fight. Howler still trying its best.
Both robots
Never
caught together
together.
as the fight ends, but there is only one way this fight can go. Yeah, Howler just never really got a good attack in this fight. It was definitely trying. You can see it was being the aggressive one right out the gate. But its aggression just turned into it going up Electromotivation's wedge and getting hit. Electromotivation's Egg Beater, while not as big as Huo's that we saw in the last fight, still capable of dealing some very brutal damage, like taking off the base plate and the entire head of Howler as we entered the second half of the fight. Electromotivation, a dominating 10-2 judges' decision win. And now, Fight 4 sees Abyss in a very different config, and Leviathan with the same blade as before. Leviathan coming off a very tough loss to AJ, and Abyss coming off a very strong win against Huo. But I have to say, this is a very interesting idea from Abyss here, dropping that top lifting arm for what seems to be just like an off-the-shelf snowplow.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're going to get the police coming into the arena soon to check this out, because I think Abyss has kind of stolen this, I suppose. I don't know where it got it from, but I mean, so far it seems to be effective. It's slowing down Leviathan, deflecting it almost. Leviathan getting stuck on the ramrods, not ideal for it at all.
Well, but you saw there as it neared our camera, that snowplow is slowly taking more and more damage. It is getting those cracks starting to appear.
But Leviathan still unable to get a good strike in. It's getting a few hits, but not really doing much. Oh!
Deflecting off the drum and it's upside down, but Abyss gets toppled by, I think, the arena hammer there, and Leviathan struggling to self right here. Oh, Abyss underneath and suplexing it over and back onto its legs.
Yeah, but Abyss once more wants to push it around a bit more with its, I suppose, totally not stolen from a winter snowplow machine conflict. It's I'm just surprised, really, almost, that it's doing so well against Leviathan. But
yeah, Dan seems to be driving this so well, just staying right on top of Leviathan and not giving that spinner any time at all to spin up. We're getting a little bit of time there. You can definitely see the crack starting to show now.
Oh, pushed up though onto the drum. Like Abyss is just almost like he's just handling Leviathan right now. Leviathan, while it is almost like a I want to say an unstoppable force, but like
that snowplow is an immovable object.
Yeah, exactly. And Leviathan is not an immovable object in itself. It's being pushed around. I mean,
the plow's gone! Leviathan got a chance to get up to speed, and it just tears it off. You can see the power that blade has there.
But, it looks like it doesn't need it though, as it utilises the power of the spinner against itself. I don't think that spinner can really hit the lifter. As
Abyss is getting underneath and just taking effect of that horizontal gyro that incredibly powerful blade seems to produce.
Yeah, and I think this is a good example here of a robot that puts too much into its weapon versus a robot that puts a lot into its defenses. Abyss is just tossing it around.
Leviathan back upside down, having the same self-righting problems that we've seen from it time and time again.
Can it get back over?
A count has started.
Watching.
The floor flipper fires, giving it that little bit more airtime to spin up, and it's back over.
Oh, had that floor flipper not fired, I think Leviathan would have been out. That would have been a knockout for Abyss.
Getting a very nice push there in the closing seconds of the match. Leviathan ripping off the lifting arm, but getting stuck on the shelf.
Oh!
And both bots are immobile. If Leviathan can free itself here, I believe this fight will go to it, as Abyss is unable to self-right, but we're seeing a count out on both here, as neither is able to show controlled movement.
Yeah, I think this is going to go to the judges, I think.
We have a simultaneous knockout, meaning the fight will be judged for the full 3 minutes.
Oh, but if you ask me, I think Leviathan lost that fight regardless.
This fight was the perfect demonstration for how a control bot can beat an incredibly powerful spinner. Abyss smothered Leviathan. There is no other way to put it. It just never really gave it much of a moment. Aside from this one here, where a slight, judgment error in Dan's driving meant he lost the snowplow, and another one towards the end of the fight, giving Leviathan a few points on our scorecards, as that flipped Abyss over, but caused the double knockout.
And to end the Sapphire group off, we have Stardust and Red Square, Blue Square Jokester. I don't know who's going to win this fight, but either way, it's going to be a cracking one, I think. This is going to be a great end to the Sapphire group. Both robots once we're coming out the gate, slightly
Very tentative. I do have to say, while waiting for this fight to go, and it gives me a good chance to say, these are two bots that I really want to see fight. It's two very unique takes on commonly done weapons.
Good push.
The hydraulic flipper and the punching spinner.
Yeah, and as we have seen there, of course, Jokester got a good
Definitely
push
getting
in.
underneath. Stardust throwing it sky high! That hydraulic flipper definitely got the power it needs. Wow!
Goodness me! Did it hit the roof? I don't know.
The camera didn't seem to pan high enough. I don't even think our cameraman was expecting that. And a second flip into the wall and out the arena!
Oh!
Jokester, instant knockout! But if Stardust cannot self-right, this will go to the judges as a double knockout.
I think I need some time to charge up, as what hydraulic flippers need.
And it avoids the count out.
There we go.
Jokester unfortunately ooted in under a minute. Jokester just never really got going, which is unfortunate to say. But Stardust, oh my god, after that initial loss of the ground game, it drove so perfectly. Getting that absolutely monster flip, nearly hitting the roof, and then a second flip throwing Jokester into the wall and out. Let's have one more watch back of that incredible first flip. Absolutely stunning. Stardust wins by knockout. And that concludes the Sapphire group. This has been a pretty big success for the flippers and the control bots here, with all but one of the spinners losing their fights. And it really goes to show that driving is so key here in the Foxii Fighters arena, as we have so many hazards that these bots can utilise to keep the aggression and control levels high. However, I do think there's one bot here that has had a run that no one expected. Abyss. I am here with Dan, the builder of Abyss, and what an incredible first week you have had. 2-0 and 20 points. You are by far the top of your group right now, and how does that feel?
I don't know how I should feel. I didn't expect it to win a single fight in its group, let alone go 2-0 to start the group off. I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, it's very, very nice to see. And something I'm sure people want to know a little bit more about was your choice to stick a snowplow on the front of your bot in your fight against Leviathan. Can you please explain to us what the thought process behind that was?
Okay, so it's pretty cold up here in filming, and there's a snowplow truck outside, and I saw that, and I thought to myself, yeah, let's just unscrew that and put it on the front of the robot for the fight. That'd probably help. So I did. I committed theft to make it work, and it worked.
Yeah, it definitely worked, because I believe that was a JD win. Going forward into future weeks, looking at the rest of the bots in your group, is there anyone you're particularly nervous about fighting?
I would say Electromotivation has me the most worried. Like, I've seen that bot in other competitions. It's really tough. Botbuster is a really good driver. I'm not confident against it, and we'll see how it goes, I guess.
Yes, I do wish you luck in that fight. And lastly, as one of 3 within your family competing in this event, is it nice to know that you're performing the best between you and your siblings?
I get to go and make fun of them every night for not performing as well, so yeah, it's pretty nice. I like being able to do that.
Alright, thank you for your time. I wish you and Abyss the best going forward into your remaining fights.
That was an incredible fight there between Abyss and Hu Wang. I honestly was not expecting that result, though that is how it usually goes when it comes to the arena. Anything could happen, and one flip, one lift could really just turn the entire match into your favour. I mean, Hu Wang was having a dominant display, and even at one point managed to out-control and even suplex the control bot, which was a entertaining sight to see. But Abyss just got that one attack in, that one lift, that one part to beach the low ground clearance machine of Hu Wang onto the spikes there, onto the wall, and pretty much that was the end of that. At the end of the day, when it comes to it, you really can't treat a control bot with any kind of recklessness. You have to be cautious.
Abyss has gone undefeated so far and managed to conquer Leviathan in its second fight, leaving the Shuffler at a disappointing 0-2 thus far. After the shortest fight so far in the event against AJ Allmanflinger, and then a long slugfest against the aforementioned Abyss, Leviathan is almost certainly not on top of its game right now, and I'm hoping to see it perform a lot better in future weeks once that new weapon power has been dialed in a little bit more. However, a bot that seemed to be performing very well is Rob's own AJ Allmanflinger.
I was definitely hoping, I guess, to have more of a fight with Leviathan, but when you're in the arena and you're met with a win like that, sometimes it is just best to take it, and I'm not, I guess, happy, but a win's a win at the end of the day.
The win that the driver will definitely be taking. Stardust and Jokester. Now, we've talked about Jokester's weapon design and how it's meant to keep itself back until it's fully up to speed and then it can unleash itself, and it never got a chance to. Stardust putting in a very convincing performance against Jokester, perhaps a surprise.
It was a shame to see Jokester smothered by Stardust as much as it was, but going forward, I'm hoping to see that Egg Beater punching through things at full force, as we've seen it do in our warm-up fights. And lastly, Electromotivation is proving to be quite the threat. I feel it may be somewhat of a dark horse within its group, as I'm pretty sure not many of us were expecting it to put on quite as dominating of a performance as it did.
So, yeah, as you said, Foxy, all but one spinner in this group winning their first fight. Electromotivation is that one spinner. I think it's great to see. I do like a lot of Botbuster's robots, and it's good to see him win. I definitely view him as an underdog, and I'm really hoping he can keep this momentum up.
Yeah, I'm an avid fan of Botbuster's machines, and I'm glad to see him win this match against Howler. Despite its, I suppose, very rectangular size and I suppose large design, it was quite slippery, I'd have to say, when it facing against Howlers. Howler didn't even land a single crush or grab in that entire fight. I think I played that both to the very successful and low wedge Electromotivation has and the fantastic driving that Botbuster has obtained over the years of competing in the RRC. A very dominant win and a very dominant showing. We move on from one dominant showing to hopefully a dominant showing from myself as we go into the Topaz's group.
You wish.
As Lemon versus Super Esports is coming up. Better see you win, lads. Bring it on, Foxy.
Let's do it. Now our first fight in the Topaz group. In the red square we have Lemon, and in the blue square we have Super Esports opting for its anti-horizontal wedge, hoping to deflect that powerful full-body spinner.
Yeah, and Lemon, of course, already getting up to speed. A good first hit, of course, there from Lemon. Another good first hit. Super Esports hoping to kind of push it around a bit, getting hit against the wall a little bit. Whoa!
Oh, massive deflection there!
Massive deflect.
And another one! But the front wedge is gone!
Lemon, of course, turning into a pinball machine here, taking out the arena. Oh my god!
Oh, Super Esports getting a few hits, but it looks like the saws have wounded it badly there. It definitely seems to be struggling to drive now.
Oh dear, and I think Lemon, of course, struggling a little bit as well, but it's managing to edge itself forward. Definitely looks a little bit more controlled, I think, than Super Esports trying to miss. Oh!
One more hit. Super Esports is definitely hurting now. Doesn't seem to be able to move at all. I'm worried a countdown might start soon.
Yeah, both
oh, it's got some movement!
Oh!
And straight back to struggling again. I think that hit might have just killed... Oh, Lemon is not satisfied. It wants more.
Lemon is going to ensure that the fight is finished there, and Esports, of course, is limping a bit. Lemon
doesn't look mobile enough to me, Red. I don't know what you think.
I don't know.
There's the start of the countdown.
Yeah, there's the count. Lemon, of course,
ruled immobile. Can it move enough to stop that count? Lemon just hovering so menacingly. And that's
going to be it. What a fantastic showing from the veteran Lemon.
Entirely true that. Super Esports very strong out of the gate, deflecting Lemon a good few times before the unfortunate hit where that front wedge just came right off. And from that point, it got one good charge there, getting a little bit of damage on Lemon's baseplate, but Super Esports was simply not the same. The saws definitely damaged those wheels, potentially just cut up some of the rollers in those mechanisms, and just left Super Esports struggling to move. Lemon got a few more hits to chip away at it, but that was the end of the fight. Super Esports loss, and Lemon wins by knockout. A good first showing for our veteran.
And it's a battle of the overheads in the Topaz group. Quake versus two-headed Death Penguin. Who is going to win, one hammer or two?
Well,
Starting.
very preemptive firing from Quake there. I'm not sure what it's trying to do. It's almost using the hammer like a keep away stick.
Yeah, he's trying to keep his distance. That strategy's not working, of course, anymore, though. First
Or
swing.
overshoot.
Yeah, I don't.
Two-headed is trying to peck away at it. Look at it go!
Oh, it's doing its best. Quake keeping it at bay, though.
Another swing and a miss from Quake. Oh, that one was a hit, though.
Good push there, of course, from Two-Headed Death Penguin.
Quake's hammer is so powerful, it just threw itself over.
But it's also a bit too long for Two-Headed Death Penguin, coincidentally being, like, longer than the actual chassis of Two-Headed Death Penguin.
Oh, a nice shot on the wing there, and another one right in between the two axes. Despite not landing many hits, Quake's wedge seems to be almost impenetrable from Two-Headed.
Yeah,
it just doesn't have an answer.
And Two-Headed, of course, getting stuck on its back a few times in the arena so far. I think those axes are not really tall enough to or go far back enough to prevent it.
Oh, a wing just fell off. I'm assuming that was from the drum, but I'm not too sure what happened there.
I think the drum just chewed it off there. And Death Penguin has lost one half of its, well, I suppose, big controlling strategies. Its entire point for the robot itself and those big wings is to just keep the robot in front of itself.
The other wing just got rammed right across the source, but doesn't seem to be that phased. Quake trying to line up that hammer for a shot, and it hits right on the back of the chassis.
Two-Headed Death Penguin just pecking away. I think just trying to chip away at Quake.
Damaging those outer panels, definitely.
Yeah, but
I don't think it's having much effect on Quake.
Yeah, it doesn't seem very phased at the moment.
The armor is almost
push
ablative. Oh, a very good ram right across the arena there.
Very good shove there. To the Death Penguin, while lacking, of course, in damage, definitely when it controls. But Quake back again, hoping to try and push it into a place where it can get itself going, pushing itself against the drum. Very good ram there, rowing itself against the wall again.
Two-Headed beached on its back, freeing itself one more time. Quake straight back under. That front wedge is so low to the ground.
So, not only low, but it's just so controlling. It's putting Two-Headed Death Penguin in the places it does not want to be. It's trying to line up for another blow. Good shot there.
Right on the axe. Axe to axe blow. Straight back
Yeah.
under. Two-Headed. Oh, it's caught on one of the drums. And
Another
it's just
shot
been
there, and
lifted
it's
up
fallen
onto the
up.
shelf! Oh no!
I don't think it can get off. I think Quake hitting it on the wheel, it's causing it to
The
lift
count
down
has
one side.
began.
And he's reaching over the wheel to hit him again. I don't think he's going to have enough
Oh,
control
that
to get
last
off.
shot looks like it's killed Two-Headed. It's completely stopped moving.
It's broken. Yeah,
Axis are firing, there is no drive, and it is counted out. An unfortunate loss here for Two-Headed Death Penguin, but it really just never got a chance. Quake's front wedge was so low, and when that hammer did hit, it struck so effectively. Two-Headed Death Penguin losing the wing against one of our arena drums as well, a rather unfortunate showing, but Quake just wedging underneath it, out-controlling, and that very well-timed nudge there to just chip that front wedgelet onto one of the other drums and just have Two-Headed Death Penguin lifted up onto our arena platform. And that was the end. Quake wins by KO. Our third fight in the Topaz group. These two builders have a little bit of a rivalry, so this might be a good chance to see which one. This might be a good vengeance match between the two of them.
yeah,
Demon Spirit getting underneath early, and Shao just trying to stay out of the way and getting that spinner up to speed.
Smacking against the drum. This is a classic fight between Spinner versus Control Bot. I want to see who goes through. I'm kind of rooting for Demon Spirit here to get a few good lifts in, maybe put it out of the arena. But Shao, as we know, a very dangerous vert with that kind of reach config. It's definitely going to be able to hit Demon Spirit a few times, as it is we're seeing here, doing so right now. Demon Spirit needs to get underneath, try and get some kind of control. They flipped over there by the flipper.
That vert might be dangerous, but is it just me, or does Shao look to be having a few drive issues? It doesn't seem to be moving as well as we've seen it move in the past.
Yeah, I don't think it's pushed around there, of course, by Demon Spirit. Demon Spirit trying to find, of course, a good edge there. It could just simply be that Shao is playing a more patient game here, since it knows the Demon Spirit's being aggressive, letting it come to it more or less.
Oh, a monster hit there, right onto the shelf! Can Demon Spirit get down? Yes, it can, just avoiding the count out.
Fantastic there, getting off there, but that was
not so fantastic, driving right on the saws afterwards.
I definitely see this more of like a defensive kind of shout at the moment. I mean, we obviously saw that shelf hit. It almost looked like it parried the attack there of Demon Spirit and threw him up onto.
I find it weird that the spinner is the one being defensive here.
Yeah, I mean, Demon Spirit definitely being aggressive here, but can they get any good flip in? So far, we have not really seen Shao get flipped over at all.
We have right there, but that was a floor flipper, getting both of them at the same time. Oh, and that's one of the front wedge corners of Demon Spirit falling off.
Yeah, and that is not good for Demon Spirit. Demon Spirit entirely needs that front wedge, that front bit of control, just to actually get that flipper in and do something with that lifter. But it's not really doing very well.
That's unfortunate. That front wedge is so beat up at this point.
Yeah,
the end of the last minute of the fight, the swords have another word, and the other corner is gone. Demon Spirit is relegated just to one last little bit. They seem very even in pushing power. This is quite back and forth, but Demon Spirit just cannot get under.
Yeah, but like Shao right now has that reach over the lifter right now. It is just tearing out.
It's got a bit more than just reach over the lifter. The lifter's partially gone.
But Demon Spirit, of course, still pushing back, utilising whatever it has left.
Part of the back armour. Those internals looking so exposed now. That battery clearly visible from the front. Demon Spirit has got to do everything it can to try and just not die.
Yeah, it needs to do whatever it can, of course, to push around as we go towards the end of this match here. It needs to score as much aggression as it can.
And that's a very good way to do it, rallying Shao into the drums. Even without no wedge at all, Demon Spirit still being so aggressive. Right to the closing bell!
Oh, dearie me!
Oh, dearie me is right, Redman. It is so unfortunate that Demon Spirit just could not really get a shot. Double was driving this fight excellently, but it just seemed no matter what he did, Shao's spinner just got in. That mistimed flip there, I think, really cost him the match, sending him up onto the shelf. And I think he was on the back foot massively from that point. He just never really got a look in, and as soon as that first bit of the wedge went, I think the fight was over. The main flipper lip goes, Shao flips it over with a sure power of that disc, and then right as the closing bell hit, there's a swift 1-2, Demon Spirit launched up into the drums, and losing the JD on a 9-4.
Next up in the Topaz group, in the red square, Quake, in the blue square, Super Esports. Both robots have already fought. Let's see who scratches this win. I don't know what I mean by scratching this win, but there we are.
Super Esports making better use of those mechanism wheels in this fight. Last time it seemed very intent on charging that front wedge right into Lemon. However, this time it seems to be definitely driving a lot more sideways.
Yeah, I think Esports is doing its best to maybe grind away at the wedge and maybe get at the inters there. Quake getting a good shot in there, holding Esports up into the corner.
Esports ootering a little part of Quake there, but of course that's not enough for a knockout. It seems that Esports is almost circling around and keeping those wedgelets pointed at Quake. What a hit there! Wow!
Oh.
And Quake landing on those front wedgelets. Those forks are new for this fight as well. We did not see them in the Lemon fight for certain.
Yeah, I think that's. I think the hammer's also broken off of Quake as well.
That's not the hammer. That's the front wedge.
Oh dear!
Esports' drums must just be chipping away bit by bit. Oh, there's a wall spike going into the air.
He's such a. I mean, Esports is such a grinder, if you were, in terms of its strategy. It's got.
Yes.
Even though those weapons may not be massively durable or massively powerful, they.
Oh, the floor flipper tossing both of them over there, and
they'll shred you down. And
Quake, of course, self-righting, but Esports remains upside down.
I think Quake's just going to try his best to try and put Esports in a situation where it can't move or it can't push. Oh, and his wheels are getting shredded now.
Yeah, that's one of the front. Oh, both front wheels are gone. But is Super Esports okay? It doesn't seem mobile right now.
An opportunity for Quake. Will Quake win this?
Well, Quake nudging it. You can see there it's beached on something, and Quake frees it.
Ah, very kind, of course, of Quake there,
yes.
But I don't think that's going to get him any kind of extra points there from the judges.
Or from Esports, as Esports is right back onto the attack, taking away one of those back wheels. And there's the other.
Oh,
That's a
dear.
knockout. Quake is unable to move. It's just going to be a matter of time before the countdown happens now. Despite being upside down for the latter half of that fight and getting beached, Super Esports just proving too deadly for the poor Hammerbot.
What a shame. Quake, of course, will be a winner in our hearts, but that's what you get for being kind in the arena.
And that is the Super Esports that we were hoping to see in the first match. Destructive as always and utilising those Mechanim drive so well. However, no shame to Quake. It pretty excellently disabled one of those front forks, but the other three, combined with the power of those drums, just... Quake could not hold up to it. Once again, we have to commend Kilo and Quake's sportsmanship here for freeing Super Esports and basically throwing away the win. Super Esports did not return the favour and took out both of those back wheels shortly after, leaving Quake immobile. Both bots moved to 1-1 at the end of week 1. And now our final fight of the night and of the Topaz group. In the red square, the front hinge lifter of Wave Runner and the angled horizontal spinner of Baratuda luring in the blue square. Baratuda dodging out the way from the start and getting that spinner up to speed and getting a very dull hit on that front wedge. It seemed to just bounce right off. Ooh, that's a bit of a better hit there, knocking a part off.
Yeah, like both robots right now, they're coming against one another. They're trying to find some kind of perch. Wave Runner, a good push there.
Just not getting far enough underneath to get that lifter in effectively. We know that Baratuda cannot self-right, so all it will take here is one good lift to end this match. But Baratuda just seems to be avoiding that front, or just not going up it the full way and having the spinner deflect it off.
Yeah, it seems both robots are quite slippery customers so far, both of them getting glancing blows against one another, and that is not ideal for Wave Runner because if push comes to shove, that spinner will grind away at Wave Runner if the fight continues and with glancing blows really. Both robots...
Another hit on the wedge there. Ooh, almost a lift! But just slightly misaligned there. Unfortunate for Wave Runner.
Baratuda, another shot there against the front wedge. Once more.
It's almost like Baratuda isn't giving itself the time to spin up.
Yeah, it might be being too aggressive for its own good, and Wave Runner, of course, taking this into account there.
And taking a few shots from the arena hammer as well, and getting itself stuck on the spikes.
Can it get off? Oh, I don't know. Can it? It's rocking back and forth.
Baratuda comes in and hits it, and it's free.
Oh, how kind for Baratuda, though I don't know if that was
I don't think that was intentional. I think it meant to hit it more onto the spikes. However, you can... Ooh, that's a nice shot there, taking a few parts from the side. And as I was about to say before that, you can see that front wedge of Wave Runner now starting to take some damage.
Yeah, it's not looking too healthy in the eyes there. And Baratuda is looking to try and probably rip it off. So that's what I said earlier. I mean, the more glancing blows we get, the more that wedge is going to suffer.
Near potential for a lift there, but it's just once again not far enough on.
Yeah, that weapon is just... I think it might be too high up for its own good on Wave Runner. It's not getting a good wedge underneath.
We mentioned in the pre-show that not many robots have this diamond-shaped front that Wave Runner's wedge has. But I think it might be what's deflecting Baratuda so well.
Yeah, I mean, I won't deny that Wave Runner is definitely being, I suppose, the more controlling whenever it comes to the pushes. But Baratuda not really doing anything exciting.
Oh, that's a bit off the wedge there. I think that's one of the corners just chipped off. And the flipper tossing it over and self-righting onto Baratuda.
And Baratuda pushing around for the final moments.
For the closing moments, and they finished stuck on top of each other. A fairly slow fight to end off our night here. We apologise for that. But I still think it was pretty entertaining. With Baratuda's spinner getting some good chips throughout the fight, and Wave Runner just unfortunately not getting a good lift in. It had the potential. It had 2 or 3 very good attempts where Baratuda's spinner was stopped, and it was nearly on that lifter, but it just fell short every single time. It is so unfortunate to see a bot just not have the success we know it can, and I really think that's what happened to Wave Runner here. Our judges have given this fight to Baratuda, obviously, but Of course, not a bad showing from either robot, and I think going forward, I hope to see more from both sides. A little chip at the end of the fight there, just to destroy one of those little corners on Wave Runner's wedge, the flipper throwing it up and over, it riding Baratuda to the closing bell. On a 9-3 JD, Baratuda is your victor, closing off our fights for the night. Welcome back to week 1, and that concludes all our fights for the day. The first fight I want to talk about here is between Wave Runner and Baratuda. This was by far the slowest fight of the group, and it was clear from the start that Wave Runner was just not functioning correctly. It's a very unfortunate start to this rookie bot's career, and I'm hoping that with future weeks and more experience, we will see much more from Wave Runner as the round robin progresses. Baratuda, however, has surprised me. I didn't think the spinner would be able to cause much damage, and while it didn't exactly break many parts off Wave Runner, it certainly made its mark.
And talking about another robot that made its mark, Xiao Shilong against Demon Spirit. Prime and Xiao driving such a good battle here. Very defensive against Demon Spirit, which I guess is a bit of a surprise, but certainly an advantageous tactic. It was able to pick up its win without Demon Spirit being able to get a single flip in, which is a bit of a disappointment.
Xiao Shilong has claimed yet another win, and is still yet to be beaten throughout my events. Will anyone be able to beat this terrifying vert? We'll find out in next week's fights, but for now, I've got Xiao Shilong's builder, Primeval, on the line for an interview. Let's go down to him. And I do have to ask one thing though. While that is a very deadly spinner, were you disappointed with the fact that you didn't get to score a knockout from that first fight?
Not particularly. Demon Spirit is extremely durable, so I was kind of expecting to, take it to the judges. But the main thing I'm quite happy about is just didn't really get flipped in that fight. That's the main weakness of Xiao. It doesn't have a separate self-writer. It's just the disc that, bounces us back over, and fingers crossed, you get back on your wheels. So happy I didn't get flipped too much, and so results pretty much as expected, really.
Yes, I have to say the predictions for this fight between me and my co-commentators were very split. John and Rob had you down as winning, while Red and myself had gone for Demon Spirit, so I definitely think I could have seen this fight going either way, but do we have any future plans for Xiao, for your future fights, that might instill a bit more confidence in people who are still doubting you?
I think we have some very good fights coming forward. We have a lot of more potential. I've yet to show the other modules. What we saw in that fight is what everyone knows Xiao for. The pontoons are its default. It's a nice, solid option that works for many things, but there's definitely going to be some changes, some different modules that you'll be seeing for other fights. I think the one that you're definitely going to see the biggest change for is the fight against Lemon, because I've got a very specific module designed to deal with something like that, where there's nothing wedge-wise, it's just weapon on weapon. So, and I'm looking forward to that one. That should be very fun.
I can imagine we'll definitely be looking forward to seeing that. Lemon is a very terrifying-looking spinner from the fight we've seen a bit earlier. Going off that, is there anyone in your group who you're particularly looking forward to, or perhaps not looking forward to fighting?
The one I'm looking forward to fighting is Quake. I think that'll be a very interesting dynamic. Super Esports is another one I would look forward to fighting. It's very unique, and I want to see how that matchup would go. I am, however, very worried about Wave Runner. I know it didn't perform perfectly in this first fight, but that is a very low front, and I'm not sure, no matter how many configs I have, I'm not sure if I've really got one that will work perfectly. I've got plans for fighting Wave Runner, but let's just say they're not as solid as the other opponents I've had to fight.
Thank you for your time. I'll let you get back on and get working on Xiao for your fights next week. So,
alright, thank you very much.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Now, Quake versus Two-Headed Death Penguin. A fantastic, I think, overhead battle, which I'd say is night and day when comparing these two machines in terms of how their weapon setup is. You've got Quake here, who's got the much larger, much more powerful hammer that's used to, I suppose, smack away with powerful blows at a safe distance, and Two-Headed Death Penguin, whose design is very much obvious in terms of the more controlling kind of aspect. Though I have to say that performance that Two-Headed Death Penguin was really hoping for didn't really occur against Quake, and Quake was phenomenally driven, very well paced, and managed to land some very strong hits against Death Penguin, and really just rocked the overall Controlbot's design. A dominant win there from the superior overhead.
However, from the highs of its victory against Two-Headed Death Penguin to the lows of its fight against Super Esports, and what a shame for Quake. I mean, it had Super Esports beaten, but it wanted the fight to go on a little bit longer and helped it out after it was beached, and, well, it cost it in the end. And I'm sure Foxii will be delighted to get that victory, but I'm sure you'll appreciate as well the generosity of Kilo and Quake in that fight.
Yeah, I very much have to give my thanks to Kilo. I was about to drop to 0-2 if he didn't decide to free me, and I commend his sportsmanship and willingness to keep the fight going. He's still got one very strong win, as Red spoke about before, and I'm looking forward to see what this beautiful Hammerbot can do in future weeks. And lastly, Red, our wonderful fight. I was hoping for it to go on longer than it did, but it was still a good match nonetheless. I very much enjoyed fighting you again. You beat me in TIFR, and now you've beaten me again here.
Yeah, personally, I was really hoping for the fight to continue on as well. I mean, from a competitive standpoint, I thought you could still keep going, but as they'll say, you're unfortunately immobilized, and I was kind of sad, really. I wanted to keep it going because I was kind of having fun there. I mean, the fight definitely was quite even, with you having a much more stronger controlling aspect in that fight, as well as me. I barely have as much control as a one-wheeled car. Evidently, Lemon's still in fine form, still in fine shape despite its age, and still showing some phenomenal damage output, which I hope to continue in this competition. But wonderful fight, Foxii. It was a goddamn pleasure.
And now we have our group standings after week 1 of the round robin. We'll begin by showing you the Ruby group.
So topping the sheets for the Ruby group, Neola, 11 points and a dominant 1-0 win. Counterpoint comes up next in second, 1-1 but tying Neola. Third place is Game Over, a surprise to see as it went 0-2, but nevertheless 10 points puts it high up. Right behind is Terabyte, another 1-0 robot sitting at 9 points. Cerberus stands at 8 points in 5th place. In 6th is Avalanche with 7. 7th in the standings is Burnout with 5 points and an 0-1 record. And looking to pick up a win at the bottom of the table is Silly Goose with 3 points and that 0-1 record.
And now we check out the Emerald Group standings so far. In first place, because leading the Emerald Group, we have Mundo, a surprising winner for some, but to me, I'd say it deserves it. In second place, we have Soundwave, only 11 points, but a dominant showing there. I'm hoping that it has a much more stronger opponent in the future. In third place, Truncator with 8 points. Would be a lot higher, but because of its late hit, it was deducted. In fourth place, Tough as Nails, the Hugger of Doom with 7 points. In joint fifth place, we have Serpent and Skynet, both robots unable to really show off their stuff in their matches. In seventh place, Gosling. Unfortunately, the Goose was cooked, and last place with only 1 point due to being knocked out rather quickly by Mundo. It's Akira.
And now, the Sapphire group. At the top of our list, we have Abyss with 20 points and 2 very strong wins. In second, AJ Ormanflinger and Stardust, both on 13 points after very fast knockouts against Leviathan and Jokester respectively. Fourth place sees Electromotivation on 10 points after a strong JD win against Howler. Leviathan is claiming 5th place, getting 4 points after the 2 losses today. Huo Wang takes 6, just scraping it into the bracket as of right now with 3 points. And lastly, at risk of elimination after week 1, we have Howler and Jokester in 7th and 8th respectively.
And last but not least, it's our Topaz group standings, and look what sportsmanship does for you. Quake still in first place there with 14 points, but pretty much donating that win to Super Esports has put it only 1 point behind on 13. And there's the Citrusy one in third after its victory in its only fight. But look who we've got lurking in joint fourth. We've got Xiao Shilong continuing its run of being undefeated in Fox's events, and Baratuda there. They're both on 9 points. In 6th place in standings, 4 points for its loss against Xiao Shilong, Demon Spirits, and joint 7th place, 3 points apiece for their losses. Wave Runner and Two-Headed Death Penguin will also be hoping for more next week.
And now that our week is over, does anyone have any final thoughts?
This was a fantastic first episode and a great first week, I have to say. I was in love with a lot of these fights. Silly Goose versus Neola, such a dominant showing there from Neola there, showing my clusterbots are so impressive. Abyss versus Leviathan, showing just how powerful control bots can really be against spinners when they are done fantastically. I enjoyed our fight with Lemon and Super Esports, where I was very chuffed to get the win, but was really hoping for a bit more in there.
Yeah, it's been a great week all around, and honestly, I love sitting here with you guys, but seeing all these robots, the diversity, seeing the fight, seeing the carnage, I do kind of miss not being in the arena. But I'm going to stay sat here for now, but it's events like these that make me wish I hadn't retired. This event to get through, we'll see what these guys can do, and then maybe I'll show them how it's really done someday.
And with that, week 1 of our round robin is over. I hope you enjoyed the fights today and will be joining us soon for week 2. Thank you and goodbye.